lot of people in America are overweight. But why are they, quote unquote, poor? Why are they so big? I'm not talking about people living in tent cities, a bunch of drug-addled zombies. No, I'm talking about your subsidized poor in America. Why are they so big? Seems like being poor in a lot of other countries, you're pretty thin. We've all seen the advertisements on the TV with the people with the flies and eating the dirt cakes. Yeah. Why are Americans complete opposite of that? Why are the Americans bigger than the rich? I'm going to answer that question. And this is a deep dive, so hey, my cadence is a little too laid back. Turn up the video speed. By the way, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe. Let's get into it. I've been all over, enjoyed the world, had fun, traveled, made lots of money, done bub life, van life, done it all. And at one point, when I was just taking some time off, I'd hit up the food banks because I remember how good the food banks were back in the day. And I was like, okay, let's see what the food banks are like these days. Even better than I remember. Now let's get into, like, for people like, food banks are for poor people. No, food banks are for tax deductions. Let's get into the mechanics of the first big staple of food that a lot of poor people get. It explains why they're so big. Your farmer gets tax deductions for crop insurance. He buys a big piece of machinery, tax deductions. Because honestly, who the hell else is going to do farming otherwise? Because it's just so damn expensive and labor intensive. You know, we need farmers to grow food. We need farmers to grow more actual food, less soybeans for other countries and corn we can't eat. We need more food in this country, by the way, more green leafy vegetables. But all the same, he gets tax deductions. Then we take it over to the trucker. You know, the truck, the trailer, you know, any maintenance on that, tires, whatever. If it's an employee driving the truck, that's a tax deduction. There's a whole bunch of tax deductions. And then it gets to the processor, right? Machinery, building, employees, all the same tax deductions. Oh, boy, vey, tax deductions. Now we're moving on back to another trucker. We've already explained that. Now this gets to the grocery store. And this is where where the magic happens. All the usual tax deductions, except for one thing really changes. Dumpsters are a tax deduction, but a very, very small tax deduction. You know what's a huge tax deduction? Donating food to a food bank. Before it completely goes bad, take that food with this price tag. This is what it would have sold for. And then you donate it to a food bank. Not just grocery stores, local charities. Also, a lot of good people donate to food banks. Cool, I get that. But then you get the situation where something like a restaurant, pizza company, they have a bunch of extra pizzas. Somebody, maybe too many were made the night before. They donate them. Write that off on your taxes. Fried chicken place with biscuits and fried chicken. Name brand, by the way. Yep, tax deduction. Whole way along tax deductions. So what ends up happening is that instead of taking it on the chin for all this wasted food as it would normally be considered, it's given away. Now, this is a good thing because instead of just throwing away, it's given away. But then you go to your food banks and you're thinking, you know, old school food banks. We got beans, we got rice, we got a big block of government cheese. I don't think I've ever seen the block of government cheese in my entire life. I've only heard about it. I've talked to people that they can confirm that they had received the block of government cheese. And some people refer to that as commodities. Now, commodities do still happen in some places every once in a while, but I have yet to receive the great golden block of giant government cheese. But yeah, you go to that food bank these days, and it's all that stuff. You know, beans, rice, dried goods, pasta, rice-a-roni, mac and cheese, boxes of whole cereal. Sometimes you even get the milk at the same time. Oh, wait, gets better. Baked goods, cakes, pies, all this. I remember one month I got it was a German chocolate cake with the coconut frosting, and I also got a coconut cream pie. And here's where we get into the meats. Meats, cheeses, dips, shrimp, steak. I've got whole turkeys, whole spiral hams. Vegetables I normally couldn't afford. Now, vegetables are kind of an on and off thing. Not so many, but get around certain seasons, you get a lot of canned pumpkin, cranberries. You learn how to bake with that. It's good. Now, you basically got all the staples you need. Well, you just need to add a few things. and you got more than enough food. I'm testifying that this is the way it is because I've been there, done it. You know, I see which way the rocks are rolling down the mountain. So that same person, and let's get into something I observed. I'm sitting there in this city, and there's a nice little park, kind of waiting for the food bank line. It was hot that day. I didn't want to walk over there and stand in that line with the hot beating sun. And as I'm sitting there over there in a park bench, a little ways over, there's actually a stereotype I hadn't seen in a long time. It's a Native American dude drinking a 40-0. I'm like, wow, been a while since I've seen that one. And I was just like, huh. And as I'm waiting there, eventually this Mazda, this 90s gray Mazda shows up, and these two fat people get out. They're the size of the Michelin Man. Now, there might be some form of Chinese hell, and that's what that car is going through. I swear to God, I heard that car breathe a sigh of relief as those big people got out of that car. And they go there, and they get everything they need food-wise. Do you think for 1 minute those same people aren't getting EBT? They're not getting free cell phones. Some of them get free apartments, free this. People that get out of prison, I mean, maybe some, maybe not. Maybe you fucked up too bad and you can't get anything. A lot of people that fucked up too bad, they will be at the food bank because they can't get the benefits. But a lot of people ain't never done nothing wrong, and so they got food stamps. Now let's get into that part of the game. Because you already got all your basic staples you need from that food bank. All you need to do is add some add-ons. So that's really not that much. It's really not. Maybe $10, $20 a month, tops, maybe 30. That you little add-ons to make what you got from that food bank work. I talked to one of my relatives. At the time we were talking, she had a 4-person family. 2 adults, 1 woman, 1 man, and 2 children growing into being teenagers. So all of them are in shape. Thin, healthy people. And I asked her, what's it cost you to feed your family? She says about $500 a month. And she cooks, bakes, and does all the food. So it's good, healthy food. I said, do you know what someone in this state gets for the same 4-person family on EBT? Oh, I don't know. What is it? $740. $740. They get more money in EBT than it takes to actually feed a family healthy. Now, I want to put this in perspective. They've already got all the food that they need from that food bank. What do you think they spend that money on from EBT? Well, let's get into that. Because this is where, once again, EBT, I get the intention, but let's be real about it. These people, it's really just a way to take money and give it, it's a tax, it's a way to get the taxes back into the processors. Because I could understand back in the day where like, we're going to give you some government level meat, you know, like it's not steak, it's not lobster, it's not ham, it's not all that. It's government meat. It's good meat. It's like ground meat, maybe the Lago beef and the government cheese, you know, we're going to give you all that. That's commodities back in the day. You know, like that type of thing. But you should have things you're only allowed to purchase, like actual real food, like vegetables and meat and, you know, some dried goods. You could purchase damn near anything. As long as it isn't cooked. Like, I know this because way, way back in the day, briefly when I was getting $200 a month for EBT, I remember I even told him, I said, hey man, I got some money in the bank. Is that going to be a problem? No, it's just about what you make. And so I basically got that money and I'd spend $100 a month and that was more than enough money. I wasn't even going to the food banks. Didn't need to. And what's funny about that is if I think about if I went to the food banks and done that, oh my God. In fact, I did at one point and I was just like, what am I going to do with all this extra money? You could go to Papa Murphy's and get a full pizza, like a family-sized pizza for 5 times that month with the extra money you had left over. You literally could buy all the survival, like canned goods and dried goods and store this up. You could literally have like a Mormon level of survival level of food stored away just on the excess that you get between the food banks and the EBT. Now you got $704. You can buy like Monster Energy. You can buy literally, go down the candy aisle. Oh, that's all technically considered food. Bag of Cheetos, the highest priced name brand chips. You can buy all that. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, Dino chicken nuggets, a lot. And by the way, here's a pro tip if you're going to, because if you're going to be kind of bumming around the country, or doing whatever, or you're just going to do it locally, you always want to go to the food banks a few days after the first of the month. After you make sure about when then the checks start going on, when the welfare checks, the EBT recharge, that's when you want to go to the food bank. Just a little bit after that. And why? Because then there's nobody going. You get the best pickings. You get the best everything. You know, I remember one place I used to go. I said, "What do you got that's weird?" And they're like, "We got cow tongue, chicken feet, tripas, oxtail." By the way, oxtail makes a damn good soup. Beef tongue is amazing for sandwiches. You can make really good broth out of the chicken feet. I'm not kidding. I've done it. The tripas, they're kind of something to work with. Make a decent soup out of it. But yeah, go to that time of the month. I get the best things because everybody else is at the Walmart. Now this is the chaos at the Walmart, the welfare Walmart situation. A lot of these people just do not know how to select food. They do not know how to use a calculator. They're like, well, we only have this much. They just grab things. They just grab them. Then when they get to the checkout lane, oh, I'm going to put that back. Like this is some version of The Price is Right or something. You know, slowing down the lane. And basically, it's all unhealthy shit. I mean, Mountain Dew is not food. Twizzlers is not food. And yet you can buy it all in EBT. So we come back to why are people so fat? And that's a lot of it. Our system is set up. I mean, 30 to 40% of the food we create in America, between the farmers and the production and all this, goes to waste. So is it any surprise in that level of waste, we have these people that fat? And then we got to, just as a psychological thing, a lot of poor people think they're one purchase away from the good life. I'm not kidding. That's the way a lot of them are. If I just get that pick-em-up truck, it's less embarrassing than my current truck. Like, you got a good old truck, it treats you right, takes you where you want to need, it's easy to wrench on. It may have a problem here and there, but for the most part, it's been good to you. Nope, got to replace that. I'm one purchase away from being there, and you're going to be a lot of payments away from ever being free from that. And then cars, clothes, top shelf booze. Don't think food doesn't equate in that. Because, look, once again, when you got all the basics pretty much handled by the food pantries, food banks, well, guess what? Let's buy some ribs. Let's go buy the top shelf meats. I mean, I'm amazed. By the way, you got to think about how crazy it is when it comes to chicken sometimes. It costs how much for a pack of eggs? I can buy a 10-pound bag of chicken for $8.50. The other day, I got it at a discount. I got 4 10-pound bags for $5.23. I also bought three 10 to 12 pound turkeys. It was after Thanksgiving. So I put in there with $50, came out with 70 pounds of meat. Riddle me that one, Batman. Doesn't it cost more to feed those birds? It costs this much to make eggs, but it costs this much to make meat. Something don't add up there. But you look at it and you add it up. And yeah, food can be a step out of poverty. We're having the best this, we're having the best that. And they're eating halibut. Delicious halibut. And you're paying for it. And so, you give people the option of choosing, and they're going to fuck up. They're going to do what they want. And so you get people that obviously have the calories of a king, and it starts to explain why you see the diabetes, the heart disease, the gout, among the poor. The poor. And then you turn on the TV and you're like, and what's funny about a lot of these folks, by the way, I always find this funny. The same ones that complain, oh, you're just living the dream. Are you fucking kidding me? Some of them only work part-time. They have the baby mama. She got the Section 8 apartment for the kids. He works part-time, so they never go over the line on the money with the government. And between the part-time, maybe they both do part-time, he may not even be registered as living in the house type of situation. Between his EBT, her EBT, the food banks, and the free apartment, the free heating, the free everything. Of course they're fat. They are literally living better than wealthy people for most of the history of humanity. Is it any surprise? It's a system that's set up. And by the way, I told you this is going to be a deep dive. It's a system set up basically for prosperity and for votes, But this is the thing about it. I think some things need to change. I mean, I'm glad to keep that food from going to a dumpster. It's just a waste of food. If people give away food, that's perfectly fine. I don't mind subsidizing money for food. I mean, to be honest, the military here, then food production's next. Because if you don't have food, you have riots, and then you have a war in your own country. So I'm all fine with making our own food. But how about grow more green leafy vegetables? How about get eggs under control? It's a little ridiculous when, and I'm going to point this out, if I eat better as someone going to a food bank than I eat buying my own food, because you have to think about the price when you're buying it. You're like, well, that would be nice, but I'm not paying $6.99 for that or $10.99 for that. That's just going to come out the backside. So I'm going to learn how to cook this food or that food, smoke this chicken, beans and rice, do a little of that, learn how to make a sandwich, find the discount. Like, I want to tell you, the other day, this is a closing thought, I went to this Dollar Tree and I saw this big basket of bread. I went back to the bread section to see if there was fresh bread, and I didn't see no bread there. But then I went back because I actually forgot about the bread, went back into the store, and I'm like, I checked the tags and I'm like, well, this is expired. But I know how American bread is, and it'll stay good for goddamn ever. Just like tortillas. Tortillas don't even have to be stored anywhere. As long as the bag's still sealed, they'll be good for they'll outlive the cockroaches after the nuclear apocalypse. And I'm like, well, how much for this bread? You're about to throw it away. How much per loaf? And they're like, you know what, 25 cents a loaf. Now, you go to a local store in town here, this little small town on the edge of paradise, $2.50 a loaf. You go into the even the cheap where Walmart's $1.50 a loaf. I loaded up so much goddamn bread. Some of it was in the freezer, some of it's in the fridge. It'll stay good for goddamn ever because that fridge is cold. And yeah. I'm gonna use that eventually if it has some issues. Yeah, I'll throw it out. It'll become duck food or whatever. But yeah, it'll be in there for probably a few months. Me just making sandwiches and stuff. So I have to think about how I eat if I'm paying for it. But if I'm a complete derelict, free ham, free shrimp, free steak, chip dip, pizzas, all the basic staples I can want for free from the food banks. And if I had EBT, if I had EBT, I could literally do the perfect keto diet for free. So there's some psychological, a lot of it's economical, but that's why Americans are so damn big. At least the poor, the so-called poor. And rest in that spirit, that poor Mazda car. Man, it's a hard life. It's Freedom Phil. Take it easy. Y'all have a good one. And there's the doggo. You want me to get up and go outside?